The massive warship drifted silently through the darkness of space, its black hull absorbing the distant starlight. The HSS Defiant, pride of the human fleet, emerged from the swirling vortex of hyperspace like a ghost from the past. Warning lights flashed across its bridge as systems came back online one by one. Captain Robert stood at the main viewport, his weathered face reflecting the glow of nearby stars. Something felt wrong. The star patterns didn't match any known configurations in their navigation database. Behind him, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to make sense of their location. "Status report," he ordered, his voice steady despite the unease growing in his chest. "Sir, all systems are operational, but..." Officer Mike paused, double-checking his readings. "According to our instruments, we've been in hyperspace for much longer than planned. The chronometer readings don't make sense." The ship's AI display lit up, projecting a holographic star map in the center of the bridge. "Captain, I've completed my analysis," the AI announced. "Based on stellar drift patterns and current positioning, we have traveled approximately 300 years into the future." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. 300 years. The experimental hyperspace jump had gone terribly wrong, throwing them far beyond their intended destination, both in space and time. "Any signs of human colonies or Earth signals?" Robert asked, already dreading the answer. Officer Lisa worked her communications panel, scanning all frequencies. Her face grew pale. "Sir, I'm picking up thousands of signals, but..." She swallowed hard. "None of them are human in origin. They're all using frequencies and encoding we've never seen before." The main screen filled with intercepted transmissions. The computer worked to translate them, revealing fragments of conversations and broadcasts. As the translations appeared, the crew's worst fears were confirmed. Humanity had fallen. The messages spoke of humans as servants, laborers, and slaves. A massive alliance called the Dominion ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. They had conquered Earth centuries ago, reducing humanity to a subjugated species. Robert's hands gripped the railing of his command station until his knuckles turned white. The Defiant was no ordinary warship. It was humanity's most advanced vessel, equipped with technology that had pushed the boundaries of science. Technology that, in this time period, was centuries ahead of anything else in the galaxy. "Sir," Officer Tom called from the weapons station, "we're picking up an approaching vessel. It's huge, at least twice our size." The alien ship appeared on their screens, a massive construct of purple-tinted metal and glowing energy conduits. Its design was completely foreign to human architecture. A transmission burst through their speakers in a harsh, guttural language. The computer translated, "Unidentified vessel. You have entered Dominion space. Your ship design is not registered in our database. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." Robert straightened his uniform and looked at his crew. These people weren't just trained officers. They were the best humanity had to offer. And now, by some twist of fate, they might be humanity's last hope. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly. "But don't power weapons yet. Let's see what we can learn from our new friends." Klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members rushed to their combat positions. The Defiant's advanced systems hummed to life, though remained hidden behind layers of stealth technology that even this future era couldn't detect. As Robert watched the alien ship grow larger on their screen, he realized that their experimental jump had given them an unexpected advantage. The Defiant wasn't just a warship now. It was a ghost from humanity's past, carrying within it the seeds of revolution. "Send them a response," he commanded. "Let's introduce ourselves to the neighborhood." The crew exchanged knowing looks. They had trained for combat, for exploration, for first contact scenarios. But now they faced something far more important. They might be humanity's last chance at freedom. And the Defiant, lost in time, but not in purpose, was about to remind the galaxy why humans should never be underestimated. The alien commander's face filled the main screen of the Defiant, its purple-scaled features twisted in what might have been amusement. Four eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern as it regarded Captain Robert and his crew. A human vessel. The alien's translator produced a metallic laugh. How interesting. Your kind hasn't been allowed to operate warships for over 2 centuries. This must be some sort of joke. Robert kept his expression neutral, though his jaw tightened slightly. This is Captain Robert of the HSS Defiant. We mean no hostile intent, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. The alien commander's upper eyes narrowed. I am Supreme Commander Rax of the Dominion Battle Fleet. Your ship's design is unknown to us. But that hardly matters. Humans are forbidden from operating military vessels. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Officer Lisa monitored her readings carefully. Sir, she whispered, they're powering up weapons. 3 more ships just dropped out of their version of hyperspace behind us. Robert nodded slightly. The Defiant sensors showed him everything. The enemy's shield frequencies, their weapon systems, their power distributions, all painfully primitive compared to his ship's capabilities. Commander Rax, Robert spoke clearly, I suggest you reconsider. We have no quarrel with you, but we will not surrender our vessel. The alien's laugh turned harsh. Brave words from a slave species. Perhaps we should remind you of your place in the galaxy. He turned to someone off-screen. Target their engines. Let's take this relic intact if we can. The first shots from the Dominion ships splashed harmlessly against the Defiant's shields. The alien weapons, while impressive by their standards, were centuries behind the defensive technology of humanity's golden age. No damage, sir, Tom reported from his station. Their weapons barely register on our shield monitors. Should we return fire? Robert watched as 2 more salvos hit their shields, the energy dissipating uselessly against their defenses. On screen, Commander Rax's confidence began to falter. Impossible, the alien commander growled. No human vessel could withstand that barrage. What trickery is this? Final warning, Robert announced. Stand down your weapons and let us pass. We have no desire for conflict. The response came in the form of all 4 enemy ships launching their full arsenal. Missiles, energy beams, and plasma torpedoes streaked through space toward the Defiant. Robert sighed. Target their weapon systems only. Minimal power. Let's show them what they're dealing with, but keep casualties to a minimum. The Defiant's reaction was swift and precise. Beams of concentrated energy lashed out, slicing through the enemy ship's shields as if they weren't there. Each shot disabled a weapon system with surgical precision, leaving the ships intact but defenseless. Commander Rax's face had lost its purple hue, turning almost white. What? What are you? We are humanity as you've never known us, Robert replied calmly. Your weapons are disabled. Your ships are intact. Consider this a demonstration and a warning. The bridge crew watched as panic spread across the alien commander's features. The revelation that a single human ship could so easily defeat 4 of their most powerful vessels shook their entire worldview. The Dominion will hear of this, Rax snarled, though fear had replaced the contempt in his voice. Our entire fleet will hunt you down. Good, Robert responded. Let them come, and let them bring word of what they find here. Humanity is not as broken as you believed. The transmission cut off, and the disabled Dominion ships began to retreat, limping away on their auxiliary power systems. The message would spread quickly through their communications networks. A human warship with impossible technology had appeared from nowhere and effortlessly defeated a superior force. Sir, Lisa called out, I'm picking up dozens of encrypted transmissions. The nearby systems are buzzing with the news. And she paused, her eyes widening. I'm detecting responses from the surface of nearby planets. They're human signals, sir. Hidden ones. They've heard about what happened here. Robert allowed himself a small smile. They had achieved more than just a tactical victory. They had given hope to countless enslaved humans who had only known subjugation. Plot a course to the nearest human settlement, he ordered. It's time we learned exactly what's happened to our people in the last 300 years. And then, his eyes hardened with determination. It's time we did something about it. The Defiant moved silently through space, leaving behind 4 humbled Dominion ships and carrying with it the first spark of a revolution that would soon set the galaxy ablaze. The holographic display in the Defiant's briefing room showed a massive space station rotating slowly in the void. Station Alpha, the crown jewel of the Dominion's empire, dwarfed every structure humans had ever built. Its central core alone was the size of a small moon, with spinning rings and extending arms that housed millions of beings. Captain Robert and his crew sat around the briefing table, studying the intelligence they had gathered over the past week. The human resistance had proven invaluable, providing detailed information about the station through their hidden network of spies and servants. "It's bigger than we imagined," Officer Mike said, zooming in on different sections of the station. "The outer ring alone houses their main fleet, 500 warships, always ready for battle." Lisa pulled up another display showing power readings. "The energy output is enormous. Their shield system draws power from 3 artificial suns. They built it to be impregnable." "Nothing is impregnable," Robert replied, his eyes fixed on the rotating image. "Tell me about our people inside." Tom brought up a new overlay, highlighting specific sections of the station in red. "According to our intelligence, they keep 30,000 human slaves aboard. Most work in the lower levels. Maintenance, cleaning, basic labor. Some serve in the upper levels as personal servants to high-ranking Dominion officials." The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. 30,000 humans, trapped inside the very symbol of their oppression. The Defiant's crew had spent the last week making contact with hidden human resistance cells on various planets, learning the full extent of humanity's enslavement. But Station Alpha represented something special. It was both the Dominion's command center and the ultimate symbol of their power. "Show me their defenses," Robert ordered. The hologram shifted, displaying layer after layer of defensive systems. Energy shields that could withstand the impact of small moons. Weapon platforms that could vaporize entire fleets. Sensor arrays that could detect a ship's engine signature from light years away. "There's more," Mike added grimly. "They've added another defense ring after hearing about us. They're scared, sir. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion is afraid of a human ship." Robert stood and walked closer to the hologram, studying it intently. "Fear makes them predictable. What about their daily operations?" Lisa brought up a new set of data. "They have to lower sections of their shields every 30 hours for heat dissipation. It's their only weak point, but they coordinate their fleet movements to provide extra coverage during these periods." "And that's our window," Robert said quietly. The crew looked at him with surprise. "Sir," Tom started, "you're not suggesting we actually attack Station Alpha? Even with our technology, those odds are." "Impossible," Robert finished for him. "They said the same thing about us surviving their attack last week. Sometimes the impossible is exactly what we need." He reached out and touched the hologram, spinning it to show the station's central core. "This station isn't just a military target. It's a symbol. Every human in the galaxy knows about Station Alpha. It represents everything the Dominion stands for. Their power, their control, their belief in their own superiority." The captain turned to face his crew. "But symbols can be broken. And when they break, they change people's beliefs. We didn't ask to be thrown 300 years into the future, but maybe there's a reason we're here." The hologram cast its blue light across their faces as they considered their captain's words. They had seen how news of their victory over the Dominion patrol had spread through hidden human communities, bringing hope where none had existed before. "If we can prove Station Alpha isn't invincible," Lisa said slowly, "if we can show that humans can strike at the very heart of the Dominion, then we give our people something more powerful than weapons," Robert finished. "We give them belief. Start analyzing those shield rotations. Study their patrol patterns. Find me a way in." The crew began their work with renewed purpose. On the hologram, Station Alpha continued its eternal rotation, unaware that its days as the galaxy's ultimate stronghold were numbered. Soon, the station would learn what the patrol fleet had discovered, that a single ship from humanity's past could shatter centuries of certainty. And in the depths of the station, 30,000 enslaved humans continued their daily work, not yet knowing that liberation was coming aboard a ghost ship from their ancestors' golden age. The small maintenance room deep within the refugee colony was packed with people, all eyes fixed on the hologram projected from a device Officer Lisa had provided. Most of them had never seen such advanced technology, a bitter reminder of how far humanity had fallen. "Tell us everything you know about the station's routine," Captain Robert asked the group. The refugees were former workers who had escaped Station Alpha through years of careful planning. Their faces showed both fear and hope as they looked at the captain of this impossible ship from the past. An old man named Jack stepped forward. His hands were rough from decades of repair work in the station's lower levels. "The guard shifts change every 6 hours," he said, pointing to specific areas on the hologram. "But the real opportunity comes during maintenance cycles." Tom recorded every detail as Jack continued. "The shield generators overheat after 30 hours of continuous use. They have to power them down in sections for exactly 3 minutes to prevent damage." 3 minutes isn't much time, Mike observed from his corner. "It's not meant to be," a woman named Mary added. She had been a cleaning servant in the station's command level. "But they're arrogant. 300 years of absolute power has made them careless." She reached out to point at the central core of the station. "The command center is here, but what's important is below it. The main reactor." Her eyes held a fierce intensity. "I spent 5 years cleaning those corridors. I know every turn, every security checkpoint." Robert studied the former servants carefully. These people had endured generations of slavery, yet they had never lost their spirit. They had waited, watched, and remembered, passing information through a hidden network of resistance cells, preparing for a day they weren't sure would ever come. "What about internal communications?" Lisa asked. "We need to coordinate with the humans inside when we make our move." Another man, Ben, pulled out a small device from his pocket. "We developed these over years. They look like standard cleaning tools, but they can receive and send short-range signals. Many of us still inside have them." Robert picked up the device, turning it over in his hands. Such a simple thing, yet it represented decades of careful planning and hope. How many humans inside would fight if they had the chance? "All of them," Jack said without hesitation. "We've been waiting for a chance like this for generations. Every human in that station knows what to do when the signal comes." Tom brought up new readings on the hologram. "Sir, we've analyzed their shield frequencies. Their technology is advanced, but it's stagnant. They haven't innovated in centuries because they haven't needed to." "And that's their weakness," Robert said, standing up. They'd grown comfortable in their power. They'd forgotten what it means to fight for survival. The refugees watched in amazement as Tom demonstrated how the Defiant's weapons could synchronize with the station's shield frequency, creating a resonance that would multiply their effectiveness. It was the kind of tactical advantage that came from having technology centuries ahead of your opponent. "We'll need exact timing," Lisa said, making calculations. "The shield drops, internal communications, crew movements. Everything has to be perfect." Mary stepped forward again. 2 days from now, they're having a celebration. Some kind of Dominion victory anniversary. Security will be focused on the upper levels. Many guards will be at the ceremonies. Robert nodded slowly. A plan was forming in his mind. Their celebration of victory could become the moment of their greatest defeat. He turned to address the whole room. "What we're planning. It's never been done before. If we fail, the consequences for everyone involved will be severe. I need you all to understand the risks." Jack stood straighter, his voice firm despite his age. "Captain, we've lived with consequences our whole lives. Our parents, their parents. Generations of humans have died waiting for a chance like this. We're ready." The room filled with nods and murmurs of agreement. These people had spent their lives gathering intelligence, waiting for the right moment, the right weapon, the right opportunity. Now, with the Defiant's arrival, everything they had worked for could finally mean something. Robert looked at each face in the room, seeing the same determination he felt reflected in their eyes. Then let's make your wait worth something. Show us everything you know about that station. Every detail, no matter how small, could be the difference between success and failure. As the refugees began sharing their knowledge, the hologram of Station Alpha spun slowly above them. Soon, the mighty fortress would discover that its greatest threat came not from outside enemies, but from the humans it had enslaved and underestimated for so long. The Defiant hung silently in the shadow of a dead moon, its systems running at minimal power. Through the bridge viewport, Station Alpha was visible as a bright point of light, its massive form barely distinguishable at this distance. Captain Robert stood at his command station, watching as the final preparations were made. "All departments report ready, sir," Officer Mike announced from his station. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Robert nodded, activating the ship-wide communication system. "Attention all crew. In 6 hours, we begin our attack on Station Alpha. I want everyone to understand exactly what we're about to attempt." He paused, letting his words sink in. This isn't just another battle. We're about to challenge the most heavily defended structure in known space, protected by a fleet larger than anything humanity ever built. The odds are against us, but we have 3 advantages they don't. The captain held up one finger. First, our technology. We're 3 centuries ahead of anything they have. Second, we have surprise. They expect an attack from a fleet, not a single ship. And third, he smiled slightly, we have 30,000 humans inside that station who've been waiting generations for this moment. On the main tactical display, Tom highlighted their planned approach vector. The station's shield maintenance cycle begins in exactly 6 hours and 12 minutes. We'll time our arrival to coincide with the power down of Section 7, their weakest point during the rotation. Lisa spoke up from her station, adding to the briefing. The human resistance has confirmed their readiness. When we begin our attack, they'll disable key systems from the inside. Not enough to raise alarms immediately, but enough to create chaos when we need it. "Show me the fleet positions," Robert ordered. The tactical display shifted, showing the 500 Dominion warships arranged in their standard defensive pattern around the station. Tom pointed to specific formations. "They keep their ships in layers of defense," he explained. "The outer layer patrols the approach vectors. Inner layers provide close support. But there's a gap, a blind spot they don't even realize exists." The display zoomed in on a particular section of the defense grid. Their patrol patterns are perfect, too perfect. They're so mathematical that they become predictable. Every 37 minutes, this section opens up for exactly 12 seconds during their rotation. Robert studied the pattern. "And that's where we'll slip through. 12 seconds to cover how much distance?" 3,000 kilometers, Mike replied. "We'll have to push the engines beyond safety limits, but the calculations show it's possible." "Barely." "What about the internal resistance?" Robert asked, turning to Lisa. She brought up a new diagram showing the station's interior. "Our people inside have divided into 3 groups. The first will create a distraction in the upper levels during the Dominion celebration. The second will disable critical systems in the engineering sections. The third will protect and gather the human civilians, ready for evacuation." The plan had taken shape over days of careful preparation. Every detail had been checked and rechecked. They would have exactly 3 minutes when the shields were down. 3 minutes to change the course of human history. "If we succeed," Robert said quietly, "we do more than just damage a station. We show every enslaved human in the galaxy that the Dominion isn't invincible. We give them hope." He turned to face his crew. "If we fail," he let the words hang in the air. They all knew what failure meant. Not just for them, but for every human who had helped them plan this attack. Engineering reports the weapon modifications are complete, Tom announced. We've synchronized our energy frequencies with their shield harmonics. When we hit them, it'll hurt. Robert checked the time. 5 hours until the attack. 5 hours until they attempted something no one in the galaxy thought possible. He could see the same mixture of fear and determination in his crew's faces that he felt himself. Begin final preparations, he ordered. Check every system twice. When we move, we'll only get one chance at this. The crew turned to their stations with renewed focus. On the tactical display, Station Alpha continued its eternal rotation, unaware that its time as the symbol of Dominion power was coming to an end. In the silence of space, the Defiant waited like a predator ready to strike. Soon, the galaxy would remember why humanity had once been feared among the stars. Soon, the impossible would become possible. The Defiant burst from hyperspace exactly where they had planned, its engines glowing white-hot from the strain. They had 12 seconds to cross 3,000 kilometers of space, 12 seconds to thread the needle between the most powerful fleet ever assembled. Multiple contacts, Mike shouted. Dominion fleet is responding. Captain Roberts' voice remained steady. Stay on course. Time to shield maintenance cycle. 40 seconds, Lisa reported, her fingers flying across her console. Internal resistance confirms they're in position. The massive form of Station Alpha filled their view screen now, its defense fleet scrambling to respond to the unexpected arrival. The Defiant's advanced engines pushed it through space at impossible speeds, threading between the gaps in the patrol patterns just as they had planned. Enemy ships moving to intercept, Tom announced. They're trying to box us in. Robert watched as the tactical display showed hundreds of Dominion warships turning to face them, but they were too slow, too predictable. The Defiant danced between their formations like water through fingers. Station shields powering down in Section 7. Lisa called out. 3 minutes starting now. The Defiant's weapons came online, their energy signatures matching the exact frequency of the station's weakened shields. Robert leaned forward in his chair. Fire everything at the primary target, he ordered. The ship's advanced weapons released their fury. Beams of concentrated energy struck the station precisely where the shields were weakest. The impact was devastating. Secondary explosions rippled across the station's surface as power relays overloaded. Internal resistance reports they've disabled the main reactor cooling system. Lisa shouted over the noise of battle. Station defenses are at 60% and falling. Inside the station, chaos erupted. Alarms blared as systems failed across multiple sectors. The human resistance had spent generations learning the station's weaknesses, and now they struck at everyone simultaneously. Incoming fire, Mike warned. The Defiant shuddered as multiple Dominion ships opened fire, but their weapons were centuries behind the Defiant's shields. Status report, Robert demanded. Shields holding at 92%, Tom responded. Enemy weapons are barely scratching us, but we've got 300 ships trying to surround our position. Robert studied the tactical situation. The Dominion fleet was massive, but they had never faced a ship like the Defiant. Their formations were designed to fight conventional battles, not a single vessel that could outmaneuver their entire fleet. Message from the resistance. Lisa's voice cut through the chaos. They've reached the civilian sectors, beginning evacuation to the emergency pods. The station's surface erupted with more explosions as internal systems continued to fail. The resistance had done their work well. Critical systems were failing faster than they could be repaired. 2 minutes left in the shield cycle, Mike reported. Robert made a quick decision. Take us in closer. Target their main reactor housing. Everything we've got. The Defiant dove toward the station, weaving through waves of enemy fire. Its weapons struck again and again at the same point, creating a cascade of failures in the station's power grid. Sir, Lisa called out, picking up transmission from Station Command. They're requesting terms of surrender. But before Robert could respond, new alarms blared. Multiple power spikes in the station's core, Tom warned. The reactor containment is failing. They can't stop it. Robert's eyes narrowed. Get me a channel to all frequencies, now. The communication system opened to every ship and station in range. This is Captain Robert of the HSS Defiant to all personnel on Station Alpha. Your reactor is going critical. Begin immediate evacuation. I repeat, evacuate immediately. He turned to his crew. Target emergency escape sectors. Clear a path for those evacuation pods. The Defiant's weapons shifted focus, now striking at any Dominion ship that threatened the streams of escape pods launching from the station. Inside those pods were not just human slaves, but Dominion personnel as well, all fleeing the dying station. 30 seconds to total reactor failure, Tom announced grimly. Get us to safe distance, Robert ordered, and keep those escape lanes clear. The Defiant pulled away from the station, its weapons still firing, still protecting the evacuation routes. Behind them, Station Alpha, the mighty fortress of the Dominion, began to break apart from within. The station's reactor finally lost containment. A blinding flash lit up space as the symbol of Dominion power erupted into a massive explosion. The shockwave raced outward, catching several ships that hadn't retreated fast enough. When the light faded, where Station Alpha had once stood, there was nothing but debris floating in the void. The impossible had happened. The galaxy's greatest stronghold had fallen to a single human warship. The debris field that was once Station Alpha stretched across space like a metallic graveyard. The Defiant moved slowly through the wreckage, its sensors scanning for any remaining life pods. Around them, the mighty Dominion fleet hung motionless, their commanders still struggling to process what had happened. Final casualty report, Lisa announced, her voice soft with relief. 98% of the station's population successfully evacuated. The resistance teams got almost everyone out in time. Captain Roberts stood at the viewport, watching as rescue ships from nearby systems arrived to help collect the scattered escape pods. How many of our people made it? 29,642 humans rescued, sir, Mike replied. The Resistance's evacuation plan worked better than we hoped. They had been preparing for this day for generations. The main screen lit up with incoming transmissions from across the sector. News of Station Alpha's destruction was spreading faster than light itself. The impossible had happened. The Dominion's greatest stronghold had fallen to a single human vessel. Sir, Tom called from his station, you need to see this. The tactical display showed something remarkable. Across dozens of systems, human slaves were rising up. The news of Station Alpha's destruction had become their signal, their moment. Centuries of careful planning and hidden preparation were finally bearing fruit. Multiple Dominion colonies reporting loss of control, Lisa reported, her voice growing excited. The human resistance networks are coordinating. They're taking control of ships, stations, even entire planetary facilities. Robert watched as more reports flooded in. The fall of Station Alpha hadn't just been a military victory. It had been a spark that lit a fire across the galaxy. Every human who had lived under Dominion rule had been waiting, watching, preparing for a sign that liberation was possible. Message from the Dominion High Command, Lisa announced. The main screen displayed a face Robert recognized, the Supreme Commander who had once ordered them to surrender. Captain Robert. The alien's voice had lost all its former arrogance. You have destroyed our greatest station and inspired rebellion across our territories. We request negotiations. Robert straightened his uniform. Your request is noted, Commander, but I'm not the one you need to negotiate with anymore. He nodded to Lisa, who switched the communication to a different channel. On the screen appeared Jack, the old maintenance worker who had helped plan their attack. Behind him stood other resistance leaders from dozens of worlds. This is the Human Liberation Council, Robert announced to the Dominion commander. They represent the people you've enslaved for centuries. They're the ones you'll need to talk to about the future. The commander's 4 eyes blinked in surprise, but he didn't argue. Centuries of assumed superiority were crumbling in a single day. As the negotiations began, Robert turned to his crew. "Send word to all human settlements. Tell them what happened here. Tell them about the resistance, about the evacuation, about how we chose to save everyone we could, even our enemies." Mike worked at his console, preparing the message. What should we tell them about the Defiant, sir? About where we came from? Robert smiled slightly. Tell them the truth. Tell them we're from their past, but we fought for their future. Tell them that humanity never lost its strength. It was just waiting for the right moment to show it. The bridge crew watched as more reports came in from across the galaxy. Human uprisings were succeeding everywhere. The Dominion's control was falling apart as their aura of invincibility shattered. The species they had considered servants and slaves had outfought them, outplanned them, and when the moment came, outfought them. "Sir," Lisa said softly, receiving transmission from Earth. The main screen showed their homeworld, still beautiful despite centuries of occupation. The human resistance there had already taken control of the main government centers. The planet that had started humanity's journey to the stars was free again. "Set a course for home," Robert ordered, "but take it slow. I want everyone to see us coming. I want them to know that humanity has remembered who we are." The Defiant turned towards Earth, its black hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Behind them, Station Alpha's remains drifted in space, a monument to the day when humanity proved that no power was truly invincible, no fortress truly impregnable, and no species truly destined to rule forever. As they moved through space, the crew could feel it. The galaxy was changing. A new era was beginning. And humanity, after 3 centuries of waiting, was finally free to forge its own destiny among the stars once again.